Hi, everybody knows Roy Jones Jr. as one of the greatest boxers to have ever stepped inside the ring. Speed, power, instinct. But did you know another little thing about Roy? Roy really is into fishing. Now, if you think about it, fishing is a little bit like boxing. They're not exactly the same, but it's patience, it's timing, it's reading what's in front of you, and it's knowing exactly when to strike. So today, we're swapping the boxing gloves for fishing rods and finding out exactly what gets Roy Jones Jr. hooked. Roy, I'm going to ask a very simple question about where it started. So where did your love of fishing actually come from? And how old were you when you first got into it?
Yeah, when I was about 10, well, actually, when I was younger, my dad used to fish a lot. But when I got about 10, or 9 or 10, we started going to the Bay Bridge doing a lot of fishing. We used to mostly do white trout, croaker, bluefish, spadefish, some redfish. But we did a lot of different varieties of fishing. Then other times we would go do speckled trout fishing inside the inlands. And I just kind of learned the fishing game and I fell in love with it.
Beautiful. And you've spent your life in the boxing ring. You know, you spent your life around crowds and competition. What is it about being on the open water that you really enjoy?
The open water gives you a chance to just sit back and soak in all of God's beauties, all of God's wonders, the things that He created that nobody can really even explain almost. Yeah, when you get in that water and you see how beautiful, how serene it is, and just the way the tides go, and the things you catch out of the water. There's a whole nother life going on beneath the surface of the water. And it's something that people don't know about. So it's like when you're out there, it's so peaceful. The tranquility is just so different. You know what I mean? It's like you're out there, you're on your own. It's like time for you to focus on and really pay attention to what God has given us.
Beautiful, beautiful. And look, I said it in my little intro, but do you see any similarities between boxing and fishing? Obviously, I know the aggression side of it and that side of it. Of course not. But do you see any similarities?
Yeah, there are a lot of similarities. Actually, they're broad. It's a broad system of similarities. A lot of my teaching in boxing is I call it fishing. All my fighters that work with me, they'll tell you that Roy teaches us how to fish and how to set
Mm.
traps. Well, we set crab traps in the water too for crab, but when you're fishing, you gotta always be putting that bait out there. And if you fishing for a fish that eats fish or that likes live bait, you got to make that live bait seem like it's alive for real. You got to be able to play that game and make sure you bait him up right to get him to come for the bait. When he goes for the bait, now you get it. That's when you got to set that hook in him and bring him on in. That's the same as landing that shot and getting him out of there. So it's a whole lot of similarities in it. It teaches you patience. You got to have knowledge of what you're dealing with because you got to know what they're looking for. You got to know how the prey or how the victim moves or the prey moves so that they feel like that's real prey. So with boxing, you got to get them comfortable so they feel like, oh, that's a punch I can go after and counter. And when they come after it, that's when you bust their head. Same thing with fishing.
Excellent. I've got to ask you, Roy, and be honest about this. When you're out fishing, do the guys call you Captain Hook because of your boxing, or do they call you it because you catch more fish than them?
It's kind of a two-way street. They know I'm Captain Hook because I box, but I do usually outkiss the competition. I got a couple guys, Daniel, Michael. They've been captains. They've been in the water their whole life. They didn't have no time in the ring. They spent their whole life in the water. And to tell you I'm better than both of those guys would be crazy because they dedicated their lives to fishing. But I keep right there with
True.
them.
And what's the biggest fish you've actually ever caught? And have you got a picture to prove it?
Now I don't have no pictures right now. I do have pictures of I got about a 5 foot shark. I got a picture of that I caught. But what's crazy was
Wow.
the week after the manta ray had the incident with Steve Irwin over there in Australia, I caught a manta ray
Mm-hmm.
about the size of the one that they showed that looked like I was so shocked. It took me 45 minutes to get it to the boat. When I finally got it to the boat, it looked like the hood of a truck came up out of the water. I was like, whoa. I think that's the biggest fish.
Yeah,
That's the
man.
second biggest fish I've caught. The biggest fish I've caught when I was fishing on the bridge once. I was fishing on the bridge once. A guy had a reel out, and some guys from up in Alabama, they were fishing. And it was right before I fought Griffin the second time. And I was training, and everybody knew I was training. But I was out fishing that weekend, and the guy got hit, and the drag took off. And he had it. He said, "Hey, Roy, you in shape? You want to fight this?" I said, "Heck yes." I ran over there and grabbed the rod, right? 45 minutes later, I put in an 11-foot hammerhead shark in the bait.
Wow.
11-foot hammerhead shark in the bait, not in the Gulf, in the bait. I said, holy smoke. He was so big that it looked like a canoe was turning over under the water. When we got into the surface, because we could see it, they shining light, it looked like it was a whole canoe underwater just flipping back and forth. So what he did was he got there, he took his time because it was a 45-minute fight, so he was definitely exhausted when he got there. So the guys shining light, we kept watching. They took a few pictures, I think, but I didn't get a chance because I had to ride. Once he recuperated, he just took off down my line. But I knew no way we could have got him in because it was too long.
I mean, I can't even imagine how exhausting that would be. I certainly know. I know about the manta rays. I've actually done some scuba diving myself and been up close next to those things, and they are. You're right. They are the size of a hood of a trunk. They're absolutely huge. You've got to be quite a strong man though to be bringing in those 11-foot hammerhead sharks. I mean, I couldn't even imagine it.
It's like boxing. Once you lock in, you got to lock in and finish the job. You can't lock in and think, oh, this might
Yeah.
end in 6 rounds. No, no, no. You got to lock in for the whole 12-round fight. Now, if it gets easier and you end it earlier, cool. But if you don't, you got to be locked in the whole time, or you're going to lose the fish, or you're going to lose the fight. So you got to know how to lock in and lock in full time. If you ain't game, this is not for you. If you ain't game, fishing is not for you because they will make you quit. I'm tell you, I had an amberjack. One day I caught 3 amberjacks back to back, and each one of them was about a 20-minute fight. I was so tired after those 3 amberjacks. That's probably the most fatigue I've ever been on a fishing trip.
I bet. I mean, talking about your fishing trips, I just want to ask you this one question. I mean, which boxer, past or present, would you like to have spend a day fishing with?
It'll probably be somebody like either Hassing Rockman, Andre Ward, uh, somebody like that would get it.
Okay, and a bit controversial. Which boxer would you absolutely never like to spend the day fishing with?
Wouldn't take Bernard Hopkins fishing. He don't seem like that kind of guy.
That seems
Nothing against him, but I know he's not a fishing type guy.
okay. And forget boxing. I'll just throw it out there. If just so we're not just keeping on the boxing guys. If you could take any celebrity, film star, politician, or no, forget politicians maybe, but if you could take absolutely anyone, family, whatever, fishing, who would it be?
I'll probably take Shaq, would be my first guy. And
Oh,
I'll probably take somebody like I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure about the female, but I definitely would take Shaq.
I mean, Shaq would be absolutely. I think he'd be very funny to watch as well fishing. I think it's certainly from his
Yes,
persona that he
yes,
comes across. I think he'd definitely have a
yes.
good laugh all day.
Actually, 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 yeah, he's big enough to help get him in, yes. And actually, Errol Spence told me the other day, told a friend of mine that he would like to go fishing with me. So as soon as I can make that happen, I'm definitely going to take Earl. Terence Crawford always says he wants to go, but then he says he's a freshwater fisherman. He can't go out on the salt water. So
I mean, there's certainly a big difference between the freshwater. I mean, if I had a go at fishing, I've done it a couple of times, but I think I'd want to do the sea fishing. I really would.
the sea fish is so difficult, you never know what you might pull up.
Is there one location in the world, if you could have it on your bucket list, that you'd love to fish that you haven't fished yet?
And when I ain't going fishing, that's South Africa where the killer whales are. I ain't going there to fish, I can promise you. Where the great white sharks are, I mean. I can promise you I'm not going fishing in South Africa because you accidentally fall off the boat, you pretty much bait yourself. I don't want to be nowhere that I become instant bait. So no thank you.
Would you ever do a series where you take fighters and sports stars and celebrities? Would that ever interest you? Do a series of, fishing. Some of these big fishing shows are huge. Would you ever do something like that?
That would highly interest me because I love celebrity. I love meeting people that like life, that love the God's creations. So I definitely would love to take other celebrities, other high profile people on fishing trips. Yes.
Well, you became famous for knowing exactly when to throw, throw the punch. When you've got a fishing rod in your hand instead of boxing gloves, is it still the same sort of timing? Is it that instinct that you know when to snap
Exact
back, if you like?
exact same timing. You just gotta make, and sometime you gotta play with him just a little bit to get his interest, to get him right. Yeah, you got it. You understand me? So it's a beautiful thing to do, a wonderful game to play, but it's so much like boxing and like life. You know what I mean? You can't let him get off the hook. Let him off the hook, you ain't gonna never see him again. So
Thank you for the chat today. But I will say, if you could get a fishing series, if anyone's going to do a good fishing series, I'm sure it would be you. And I'm sure the caliber of guests you could have on, and the laughs, and the discipline, and the way the way you approach life, it would be an absolute joy to watch. So I really hope that is something
It'll be
that can come about. I really do.
it'll be it, it'll be so fun and hear the the parallels that I give, like the similarities to boxing or the similarity to life. That's the funnest part of it. So yeah, it would definitely be fun.
I think there'd be great stuff as well. Great, because this must be something that's apparent when you're fishing with mates. Look, a lot of men have mental health, and I don't want to go too much there on this on this
Right?
little podcast type thing that we're doing.
Yep.
But it is a great space, especially for men, just sitting out there, and you are waiting around a lot just to chat, just to talk the shit, do whatever. I think having a concept where you could do that, do the fishing, the excitement of catching them, but also just real honest guy talk sometimes.
All of that is good, and the main ingredient to all of that is understanding God's creations. You understand me? Because when you're out there in that water like that, you're helpless. It's whatever God wants. But these are God's creations. It's so amazing how beautiful God has made the world.
Yes, very true. And it is beautiful. It is beautiful and peaceful out on there. But you're also, as we all
Yep.
know, we have to respect the sea completely. We never know when that
Yep.
changes.
Yep.
Thank you, Roy. Thank you
Exactly.
ever so much for your time today, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure as a
Thank you
big
for having
fan
me,
to
my
talk
brother.
to you. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
man.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. God bless you.